How's it going, guys? Welcome to the homestead. So I'm out here today. Big news today was we're trying to catch a gopher or a groundhog in our garden. So I'm out here doing a video on that. That'll only be posted on the Patreon website because, you know, YouTube doesn't like those kind of videos. So it involves guns, things like that. So you can find that video over at Patreon. We got some new sheep in the other day, and I'm going to show you the sheep. We haven't done a video on that. Then I want to show you something else. Walking over here and see what the sheep are doing. We got 3 new sheep, and there they are. I'll take you over there. And there's Truffle. She's laying down. One thing you notice when you see your sheep and your cow laying down, you know, you see them laying down a lot. That's good because you know they're getting enough food. Our paddocks are growing really well this year after putting a lot of our manures, chicken manure and things like that on our pastures. So they're eating really well. There's the 3 new sheep. You can tell the 3 new ones by still have their winter coats on. Whereas the one in the back there has already lost its winter coat. Mostly. They're still losing some of their winter coat. But these 3 new sheep, we got them over from Shalom Acres, and they sold us their sheep, some of their sheep, and they did really well with these. These are a St. Croix Dorper cross. They're about 90%, I think, St. Croix, maybe 5 or 10% Dorper. And they're really resistant to pests. I mean, or disease. You know, we had our first sheep, and that was a big thing, you know. We made some mistakes when it came to getting sheep originally. We took a nosedive in with getting commercialized sheep. And the commercialized sheep, you know, they're just bred for commercialized purposes. You know, more meat, more wool, and it really lessens their resistance to disease and worms and parasites, things like that. And so they don't do near as well. When you get these heritage breed sheep, they don't produce as much meat, they don't produce as much wool. These are actually a hair sheep breed, and but they're more resistant to disease and parasites. Anyway, when you see these sheep laying down throughout the day, it means they're full. And so a lot of that grass is growing really well in our paddocks here. It's keeping them fed, and so they're up and they're eating, and then they lay down and they just chew their cud a little bit, and then they get up and they eat some more. But you know, seeing sheep that, you know, don't spend all day, you always know when the sheep aren't getting enough food, or you don't have adequate pastures, when they're up all the time eating and they're never resting, they're never sitting down. So that's always a good indication of what your paddocks are like, what your pasture's like. And so I like it when I see my sheep resting throughout the day because I know they're getting enough food. So that's something to keep in mind. You know, I mentioned early on in our season episodes that, you know, stop thinking of yourself as a goat farmer or a sheep farmer or a cattle farmer, or, you know, raising livestock. What you're really doing is trying to raise grass. You're trying to grow grass. You think of yourself as a grass farmer, because if you have good grass, you have good sheep, you have good livestock. So you want to concentrate on the quality of your grass, the quality of your paddocks and your pastures, and that's going to produce a better quality livestock. So they're resting right now. So we got these 3 sheep, and they are going to need some names. We need to figure out what we're going to name them. We haven't named them yet, and we're going to let the patrons do that. So for you patrons who are watching this video, start thinking of some names for these 3 sheep. I have a male and 2 females. Male and 2 female, ram and 2 females. And we're going to see what they can produce in the years ahead. Now, Shalom Acres, they told me they started out with 3 females and 1 male, and in 3 years they had 70 sheep, so they're a pretty prolific breed. And so they do really well. Oh, it's getting really bright again out here. There you go. I had to address the brightness issue on the lens. So we're looking for names for these guys. So the patrons are going to be able to choose the names. You can check out our website over at patreon.com/AnAmericanHomestead. But really, it comes down to grass. You know, what's the quality of your grass? What's the quality of your paddocks? Think of yourself as a grass farmer if you're going to have livestock. And make sure, if you're going to look at livestock, whether it's sheep, goats, cattle, look for the non-commercialized animals. You want to look for the heritage breeds, because the commercialized breeds just don't do so well with, you know, natural farming, natural grazing. You know, that was a big thing. You know, before we moved off grid, we had basically were trying to you know, purchase meat from, you know, farmers who raised their cattle grass-fed only. You know, that was really important to us, to have good quality food, grass-fed food, you know, and so grass-fed animals. And so, you know, we want to be able to do that. So we got here, we started off with a commercial breed and putting them only on grass-fed, not using any of the parasite wormers and medicines that a lot of the commercial farmers use. We didn't want to use any of those things, and our livestock suffered heavily for it. We lost a lot of them to disease and pests and parasites because we didn't want to worm them. Well, we've had that other white sheep out there and another one for about over, you know, 8 months, whatever, and we didn't use any wormers, and they did fine. It's because it's a heritage breed sheep. They just do a lot better. So keep that in mind if you're looking for livestock for your farm or homestead. Heritage breed is what you want to go with. So the other thing I was going to mention over here is our last paddock that we used to grow our sorghum. Let me show you this. All of our seed is in the ground right now. We planted our sorghum the other day right before it rained. There was 2 days of rain coming, so that's a good time to put the seed in the ground. The ground's starting to warm up. The temperatures are really warming up. We're getting days in the 80s and mid 70s, and got some really hot days on the forecast, it looks like, and also some more rain. So I always look for a time of rain coming before I put my seed in the ground, so I know that that seed's going to germinate well. And so we did that, and we got some good rains, and so I know the seed's in there, and it's hopefully germinating, and pretty soon we're going to see it start popping up, and we're going to get a good sorghum crop. You know, the thing I was going to tell you about is just kind of weird, because, you know, you spend the time, you know, we saved the seed. We did a small batch of what this sugar cane was that a lady from Mexico gave us. She gave us the seed, and she said it was sugar cane. Now, you know, it produces a really nice seed head, and I've heard that doesn't happen for sugarcane. So maybe it's a sorghum sugarcane variety, I'm not sure, but it was really thick stalks. And so I don't know. But it grew really well and produced a really heavy seed head. And the sorghum we planted last year, the seed heads weren't very good at all. So I decided to go this other variety, and I planted a small batch last year in the garden, did really well. I did a video on it. I'll post a link above for that video, and a link in the description below, where we harvested that sugar cane. We kept all the seed, and it's good for grain. I can use that for grain, for making breads and things like that. Not only the sugar content that we get to keep, but I'm going to be able to hopefully use it for grain. So I wanted something that produced a really good seed head that we can use. You know, and then you harvest the seed, and then you spend all winter long, you know, making sure that seed's, you know, safe, and you put it in the house, and you store it, and then it's just a weird feeling, because that seed's so important, because it's next year's crop, right? And then you come out here, it's so precious, and then you just throw it on the ground. You just throw it on the ground. It's just a weird feeling. Something that's so precious to you, because you know this is next year's crop, and then you just throw it on the ground. Because, you know, we as Americans, we tend to throw things on the ground that are worthless or are meaningless. And here I am throwing something so precious on the ground. It was just a weird feeling doing that this year. And then, you know, it dawned on me, something so precious that I'm just throwing on the ground, and you're leaving that up to whether or not, you know, the rain's going to come and germinate that seed and produce for you. You know, and then it made me think about the people who lived so long ago, the pioneers or whoever, you know, people who lived 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago. They did this year after year. They kept the seed, and they prayed to their creator, their God, whatever God that was, for a good harvest. And then it makes so much sense that there were so many pagan, you know, cultures that made up their own gods, you know, their fertility gods, because they wanted a good, you know, growth and planting season, you know, for what they were planting, because they relied on that for life. You know, water meant life, rain meant life, and so you joke about doing a rain dance. Well, people used to actually do that 1,000 years ago. And you know, you read about, you know, even in the Bible. I'm not trying to preach at you or anything, but you know, people in the Bible, you know, they talked about these other foreign gods and the things that they did, and it makes so much sense that so many of their gods were, you know, centered around fertility. You know, springtime, the rain's coming, and you know, the Bible also makes comments on that too, about, you know, the early and latter rains, because if you're a good people, if you're obedient to me, you're going to get those rains. And so it just makes a lot more sense. You know, when you live this lifestyle, things like that make a lot of sense, because man, it was so important to people that the seed did well, they were able to have a good harvest, and then that next year when they sowed their seed again for the future harvest, they prayed for rain, because water it's so important, you know, to have that rain. And I know a lot of people email me and they're like, man, I'm living in the desert, or I'm living somewhere where they don't get a lot of rain, and they're wondering what they're going to do and for a preparedness mindset, or they're wondering what they're going to do for a homesteading, you know, ideas. You know, they want to be successful in their efforts. And I'm like, man, I'm telling people in Arizona and Nevada, and I'm like, no one lived there 100 years ago. The only reason people are living there is because of the invention of air conditioning and because they have water piped into those places. But if all that gets turned off, I mean, you can't have a very good, successful homestead in the middle of a desert. You know, that's one thing where I lived in Florida, where I went to college. People in Florida, no one lived in Florida 50 years ago, 60 years ago. It was the invention of air conditioning. Florida, when you think about it, is just a paved over swamp. You know, someone emailed me the other day and said, hey, you know, Zach, I planted some of these seeds and they grew about 8 inches and it just stopped. Well, it's because you're in Florida. Your soil is horrible there. It's sand. You know, you need to, I mean, you can build good soil anywhere. You know, you got to add the right things to it. And Florida gets a lot of rain, but Florida's soil naturally isn't that great. It's just sand, and only certain things grow there. And so if you're having problems, it's probably a soil issue. Anyway, a lot of that stuff just has been on my mind lately, you know, and it comes to my mind often when I look at things like that, and I need to, you know, put my focus on making sure I get a good harvest, because, you know, we harvest this and we have sorghum and sugarcane, or the syrup that it makes, the sugar that it makes, and we can sell that for money. We can trade that and barter with it, or we can, you know, if, you know, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, people took a lot of that stuff and they fermented it and distilled it, and that was a good trade and barter item. Nowadays that's illegal here, but you know, to do that. But that's what people did back then. It was their livelihood. It meant life or death, you know, whether or not they had a successful or a failed crop. So anyway, just thought I'd share that with you. I'm out here today doing a video for you guys, and that is our sorghum field. The seed is planted. We have had some rain. We got some rain coming up in the next few days. And, you know, being able to look at the forecast and being able to prepare for that is a distinct advantage that people who lived a long time ago, my friends, did not have. They weren't able to plan. All they did was put the seed in the ground, and then they prayed for rain. And, you know, we have a distinct advantage here today. All of you do. So, hey, listen, guys, if you enjoyed these videos, please give us a thumbs up, like our videos, and check us out over on Steemit. We're putting a lot of content over there. Steemit is an amazing platform. They're actually getting ready to launch a video platform like YouTube, which I find very fascinating. And you know, not only do you help us when you go over there and follow us over at steemit.com, you know, but when you upvote our videos, you know, like our videos over there, it actually helps you too. They pay you for liking other people's videos. Imagine that. Facebook doesn't give you a dime, but Steemit actually pays you for liking other people's videos, for upvoting them, and what's called re-steaming them, or sharing them, or, you know, like in Twitter it would be retweeting them. So, you know, you help out the people who create the content creators who produce good content, and then also you get a portion of that. So that's good. You know, it's a way to share that. So check us out over at Steemit, and we're starting to share a lot of content over there. We're going to share more content over there. And for you patrons, think about names for these sheep. We want to get some really good names, and I'm going to rely on you guys to pick the names this year. So we got 3 sheep. You guys find the names. Other than that, again, thanks for watching our videos, liking, sharing them. On the various platforms that we post our content on. We got lots of good content coming up, lots of plans for good videos coming up this summer. We're not going to be doing the season episodes this summer. I want to do more topical videos because there's a lot of people asking for topical videos on specifics and things we do during the summer that I think would be beneficial for learning and for educating people who are interested in homesteading and living off-grid, all that stuff. So we got some great topical videos coming up this summer I think you're going to enjoy. If you enjoy these videos, check out this list of great people. These are patrons. I speak often of them because they make all the things we do possible. These are a great group of folks, and we couldn't be here if it wasn't for them. For more information on the benefits, you can go check them out at patreon.com/AnAmericanHomestead and see all the benefits and join in with all the conversations going on over there. All right, guys, like, subscribe, share us on Facebook, check out the videos on the left, and so hit that subscribe button and check us out on Steam It. We'll see you next time on American Homestead.